Iran has had a stellar international track record when it comes to sports. You have probably heard of the many medals Iran's wrestling teams have raked in recently, or even its achievements in football. A lot of hard work goes into becoming a professional athlete. The type of diet, exercise regime, proper amount of rest, and so much more. But what is equally important is the type of clothing athletes choose. Sportswear has evolved quickly over the past few decades and has become a highly lucrative industry. Hello again and welcome to another edition of Bazaar. This week we will venture through the world of Iran's garment industry while shining the spotlight on sports clothes, my favorite. We wanted to see why this particular category is so important in the sports industry. We will also check this sector's national and international market to uncover its contributions to the economy. Let's get suited up for today's Bazaar. In order to become more familiar with this industry, we decided to visit a company that specializes in designing and making sportswear. Majid Mehrouj Iranian Incorporated was first established in 1987 and is globally known by the brand name Mehrouj. With around 40 years of experience, it has designed outfits for wrestling, football, volleyball, and basketball teams. This includes the national Iranian football and volleyball teams, among many others. The company makes thousands of different products for both male and female professional athletes. Among its products, one can name shoes, bags, sports equipment, and of course, a broad range of clothing.
تولیدات ما محصولات ورزشی برای رشته‌های ورزشی مختلف هم از فوتبال، والیبال، کشتی، بسکتبال و دوچرخه سواری و سایر رشته‌های ورزشی هستش که شامل لباس‌های تمرینیشون، گرمکن شلوارها، لباس‌های هتلی و سایر اقلام مورد استفاده در ورزش‌ها هستش. ریز تولیدات ما شامل کفش‌های ورزشی، کوله‌های ورزشی و جوراب ورزشی و در بخش دیگری از فعالیتمون شامل محصولات فومی که در ورزش استفاده میشه مثل تشک تاتامی و محصولات کمکی برای شنا کودکان و مجموعه‌های استخری و یه سری بازی‌های ورزشی میشه که محصولات فومی هستش و در مازندران فعال هستیم در شهر سلمانشهر، شهرک صنعتی سلمانشهر.
This brand has been used by dozens of sports federations across the world. That's because each article is produced with certified international sports apparel standards.
با توجه به همکاری که با فدراسیون‌های مختلف ورزشی در ایران و در خارج از کشور در سال‌های اخیر داره، مجبور به پاس کردن استانداردهایی برای محصولات ورزشی خودش بوده که مورد قبول فدراسیون‌ها و بازی‌های بین‌المللی قرار بگیره. همونجوری که می‌دونید تنها شرکت ایرانی که مجاز هستش که با فدراسیون والیبال جهانی کار بکنه شرکت مجید اطلس هستش که از سال 2008 به بعد تاییدیه فدراسیون جهانی والیبال رو ما اخذ کردیم و تیم ملی کشورمون با لباس‌های تولید شرکت ما در مسابقات جهانی حاضر میشن و در بحث مقوله کشتی که فدراسیون جهانی کشتی هم استانداردهای خاص خودش رو داره، شرکت مجید اطلس کمان که در مسابقات المپیک و مسابقات کشتی که اخیراً برگزار شد در اسلو نروژ، خیلی از شرکت بجز ورزشکارای ایرانی خیلی از ورزشکارای کشورهای دیگه هم از محصولات شرکت مجید استفاده کردن که باعث افتخار و خوشحالی ما هم شد.
This company is the only Iranian brand that competes with world-renowned names in the field of sportswear. In fact, at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, more than 30 countries, even the United States, wore the brand's clothing. In addition to supplying domestic needs, this company has also sponsored over a dozen global sports teams. Plus, it is internationally known for being the official apparel supplier for the 2013 FIVB Beach Volleyball World Tour.
با توجه به استفاده‌ای که دوستان که کشتیگیرهای مختلف در کشورهای دنیا انجام دادن و کیفیت محصول ما رو دیدن، خیلی هاشون متمایل به همکاری با برند مجید بودن. کما اینکه کشور ترکیه تیم خانماشون استفاده میکنه، کشور آذربایجان و کشورهای مختلفی که در بیش از 14 تا کشور امسال تقریبا میشه گفتش که 19 نفر از مدال‌آوران بازی‌های المپیک روی سکوکه رفتن برند مجید رو استفاده کردند و این هم حسن شهرت برنده که بین خود ورزشکارا میچرخه، چون که بالاخره ورزشکارای کشور دیگر خیلی قابلیت اینو دارن که از هر برندی که میخوان که تولید کننده محصولاتشون هستش استفاده بکنن و اونها با توجه به کیفیتی که دیدن و بخش زیادی از اونها با هم دیگه در ارتباط هستن و کیفیت لباس ها رو دیدن اعتماد کردن و این باعث خوشحالی ما شد.
Sportswear is indeed a booming business right now. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry built on helping athletes reach their absolute best potential through all means at their disposal. The right sportswear can improve performance, help prevent injury, and speed up recovery processes between workouts. For this reason, a lot of work goes into designing these products. The beating heart of any sportswear manufacturer is the design room, and it is the birthplace of design and product development. Fabric choice is a critical part of design. Another important aspect is the fit. Clothes must sit well so that athletes don't have to constantly adjust their clothing while sporting. Of course, stylish looks and versatility are also significant features considered during the design process at this company. Its production facilities use automated machinery to get the job done. Fabric is cut using machines and then sent to workshops in the production unit, where the finer details are sewn individually by experienced staff. Its production units are capable of producing thousands of articles each day. This company employs hundreds of people directly and thousands more indirectly. The majority of raw material used to make its apparel and sport accessories are purchased inside the country. However, there is a small percentage of material that is imported.
در مورد بحث صادرات ما عرض کردم 20 نفر از مدال‌آوران المپیک از تولیدات ما استفاده کردند و از کشورهای مختلفی بودن مثل آذربایجان، مثل آلمان، مثل ترکیه و خب بحث انتقال پول وقتی شما صادر میکنی انتظار داری که یه مبلغ ارزی بیاد که یه آورده‌ای برای شما داشته باشه. با توجه به تحریم‌هایی که هستیم و روش‌های نرمال بانکی رو نمیتونیم استفاده بکنیم، مستلزم این هستش که از روش‌های غیر معمول استفاده بکنید که این هم زمان بر میکنه برگشت پول رو، هم دردسرهای حقوقی داره چون شما باید متوسل به یک راه‌های دیگه‌ای بشین و همین که زمانی که به این میخوره عملاً برای شما این رو جذابیتش رو کم میکنه. اگر دوستانی که در سفارت‌های مختلف در کشورهای دیگه هستن بتونن رایزن‌های اقتصادی بتونن که یک روشی رو مشخص بکنن برای اینکه این مقوله زودتر انجام بشه و تولید کننده زودتر به اون هدفش برسه در مقوله صادرات و تسهیل بشه صادرات به کشورهای دنیا، این خیلی میتونه کمک بکنه.
It might be interesting to know that the word mer rouge means ant, which carries the philosophy and vision for this company. Over the years, several sports brands stopped selling their items in Iran due to the US-imposed sanctions. This opened numerous doors of opportunity for this company to creep into national and international markets and expand.
بازار پوشاک ما با توجه به بحث تحریم‌هایی که به وجود اومده و عرضم به خدمتتون که یه مقدار محدودیت‌هایی که به وجود اومده برای شرکت‌های داخلی ما بسیار بازار خیلی خوبی ایجاد شده که هموطنامون بتونن که از محصولات داخلی استفاده بکنن و این مستلزم این هستش که شما کیفیت کارت رو بالا ببری، کیفیت محصول رو بالا ببری، به سلیقه مشتری اهمیت احترام بذاری که باعث جذب بیشتر افرادی بشه. ما سالیان سال توی این مملکت از برندهای مختلف بوده استفاده می‌کردن، دوستان یه تجربه‌ای دارن بابتش. بحث اینی که کارخونه‌های دیگر و تولیدی‌های دیگر بخوان همچین ورودی داشته باشن به بازار نیازمند سرمایه‌گذاری و نیازمند تکنولوژی هستش و در آخر این قضیه حتما نیروی کار متخصص باید وجود داشته باشه که شما بتونی از اون تکنولوژی که داری استفاده بکنی.
While Iran has made huge strides in sportswear manufacturing, it isn't the only type of garment produced in the country. There are thousands of different types of garments to choose from in the market for nearly all sorts of purposes. In fact, Iran's clothing industry is thriving and has enjoyed a dramatic output in garment productions over the last 4 years. Domestic units supply roughly 80% of the country's clothing needs. That's according to Tehran's Union of Garments Manufacturers and Sellers. Iran's garment industry is reportedly operating at over half of its total capacity, which is still pretty high, all things considered. The share of Iranian brands in the domestic market has significantly increased over the years. This was mainly due to a government ban on imported clothing to support local producers. The goal was to provide local manufacturers with an opportunity to improve the quality of their products, and with increased quality, these businesses would be able to compete in global markets. Going off of data from Iran's Customs Administration, last year over $100 million worth of garments were exported. This is in contrast to the total exports of nearly $60 million in 2019. That's good news. Figures from the Ministry of Industry, Mining and Trade show a 99% rise in exports year on year. Garments are generally exported to neighboring countries, as well as Central Asia, countries in Africa, Europe, and North and South America. Now, one can't mention the clothing trade without talking about the textile industry. They are so intertwined that one cannot exist without the other. And as long as there is a demand for clothing, there will always be a demand for textiles. And with a relatively large domestic market, Iran produces a lot of textiles to meet these demands. Iran's domestic demand for textile is roughly 600,000 tons each year. Annual domestic productions, however, stand at roughly 440,000 tons. That's according to the Ministry of Industry's Mining and Trade's Textile and Apparel Affairs Department. Generally speaking, in the first 5 months of last year, textile exports rose by 30% relative to 2019. According to Iran's Textile Exporters and Manufacturers Association, these exports were valued at $35 million in that period. This figure does not include carpets and other luxury fabrics. The unofficial value of exports during the 5-month period was likely to be much higher. The association says traders from neighboring countries such as Afghanistan and Iraq purchase goods inside Iran in riyals and transfer them to their countries. Often, these transactions fall below the radar and are not officially registered at Iran's Customs Administration. All in all, the textile industry is closely dependent on the raw material it uses, and when the production of raw material in the country goes up, productions in the textile industry also rise. Most of the raw material used in the textile industry, such as wool, cotton, and polyester, are domestically produced in large quantities. In 2017, there were over 1,000 industrial units active in the textile and apparel industries in the country. Well, I believe it is time for me to take a break and pass the action over to my good friend and colleague out there on the field with another adventurous report. Take it away.
This thread is made of petrochemical fibers. On the surface, it seems fine, but in practice, it lacks the required resilience for many different applications. So today we will witness the process that makes this thread capable of going through so much more.
Spinning goes back a long way in this small Iranian village. It used to be a center for bizbafi or silk spinning, But that was long ago and prior to the large-scale destruction resulted by war. This is the story of survival of small businesses hanging by a thread.
So where did the story of your factory start?
کار ما یک کار خانوادگی بوده از زمان پدرم و پدر بزرگم که در ابتدا کار بافندگی انجام میدادن و به مرور زمان کار رو تغییر دادن و کار رو تبدیل به تابندگی کردن. ما انواع نخ‌ها رو تاب میدیم، عمدتاً نخ سرکیسه دوزی و نخ دوخت کیسه و محصولات متنوعی داریم. به جز نخ‌های دوخت، نخ‌های باند اسکناس هست برای بسته‌بندی، نخ‌هایی که برای صنایع دستی، کارهای دستی استفاده میشه و یک سری جدیداً کارمون رو تغییر دادیم، نخ‌های مکرومه بافی تولید میکنیم.
The greatest secret to the success of this business is perhaps its high adaptability to different situations. From spinning silk in times of peace to gun-strap threads in times of war, people here in Marand have managed to keep their business relevant to the situation at hand.
One application for threads is clothing sacks, like those containing rice for instance, where highly resilient threads are needed. This thread is made of 8 thinner threads spun together to gain a lot more than their individual power.
Backstitching threads are made using polyester and synthetic fibers. The most sought-after product of Mousavi thread production is its 8-ply backstitching thread.
So can you tell us about the production process?
ابتدا ما نخ رو از شرکت‌های ریسندگی خریداری می‌کنیم. مواد اولیه میاد تو کارخونه ما و تو بخش تولید قرار میگیره. تو فرایند تولید ما چند رشته نخ رو کنار هم قرار میدیم و تبدیلش میکنیم به یک محصول دیگه. برای نخ سرکیسه دوزی معمولا 6 رشته یا 8 رشته نخ رو کنار هم قرار میدیم و تبدیلش میکنیم به نخ سرکیسه دوزی برای دوخت انواع کیسه. کیسه های برنج، خوراکدام، کود و حتی پتروشیمی ها مصرف کننده های عمدمون هستن.
The higher the number of plies used in a thread, the stronger and more resilient it will be. And this heavy-duty product is used not only in industrial applications, but also in the creation of fiber arts.
Another popular application for these threads is in handicrafts, such as macrame weaving. The thickness required for these threads is achieved by a minimum of 60 threads spun together.
Macrame is a type of textile created using knotting techniques. The origins of this art can be traced back to the 3rd century in the East, and centuries later, it was adopted and popularized by Western aristocrats.
What's special about your products?
یکی از مزیت‌های محصولات ما این هستش که از بهترین و با کیفیت‌ترین مواد اولیه استفاده می‌کنیم و تونستیم قیمت تمام شدهمون رو خیلی پایین بیاریم و دلیلش این بوده که با اینکه دستگاه‌ها و ماشینالاتمون قدیمی بوده، تغییراتی که بهش دادیم تونستیم تولیدش رو افزایش بدیم و تونستیم با یه دستگاه چندین محصول رو تولید کنیم.
The innovative enhancement of a single machine can create the possibility of performing different functions using fewer facilities, which can in turn reduce the overall cost of the product.
Up to 1,000 kilos of thread is made right here on a given day. And once this package is ready to be shipped to customers inside Iran and the neighboring countries.
From silk threads to candlewick, from backstitching threads to the ones using in macrame, here production continues to bloom no matter what life may bring.
So tell us about the market for your products and your outlook for the future.
ظرفیت تولید ما روزانه 1000 کیلوگرم انواع نخهای تابیده است که این تولیداتمون رو علاوه بر این که مصرف داخل هست به خارج از کشور هم صادر میکنیم. به خصوص کشور عراق، آذربایجان، ارمنستان، ترکمنستان و جدیداً به کشور سوریه هم صادر داشتیم و قصد داریم میزان و تنوع تولیداتمون رو افزایش بدیم تا بتونیم به کشورهای بیشتری صادر داشته باشیم.
In this small factory, threads become resilient after they're spun together, much like their makers who have made it through thick and thin by sticking together, and after years of war and destruction have only become stronger.
Great stuff, many thanks. Well, we are nearly out of time, but before we go, let's take a look at some news and trends in the country's garment and textile industry. 17 idle industrial units, including textile manufacturing facilities, have been returned to the production cycle in Iran's Qom province this year. Some $30 million were invested in breathing life back into these production units. The Ministry of Industry, Mining and Trade says among units were yarn and synthetic fiber productions, textiles and shoe manufacturing. The ministry predicts that the revival of these idle units will create hundreds of jobs in the region. Additionally, some 6,500 new industrial units were established across the country last year. These new nationwide production facilities created jobs for over 120,000 people. The International Trade Fair for Clothing, Fashion and Affiliated Industries was held this month in the capital Tehran, drawing scores of businesses looking to introduce their creations. Nice. Well over 100 production units active in the textile and clothing industry participated in the event. The occasion also served as an exhibition for the complete chain of the textile industry, including design, production and raw materials. The main goal of the trade fair is to strengthen business relations and foster interdisciplinary knowledge exchange. It is also a platform for networking among designers and manufacturers and a place where industry trends are set. In the long run, the International Trade Fair introduces Iranian fashion and is aimed at expanding export markets. A Canadian-Iranian designer has created a special type of fabric that turns carbon dioxide into oxygen through photosynthesis as a sustainable alternative in fashion. Super high-tech. A single-cell green algae was spun together with nanopolymers to make the fabric. The result feels like linen and is the first non-woven living photosynthetic textile to be created. Wearers of these garments take care of them as if they were a plant, and in order to keep them alive, they need sunlight exposure and to be sprayed with water each week. The biofabricated clothes can be disposed of by composting, which reduces environmentally destructive waste. Roya Agigi says she wants to transform users' relationship to their clothing. She hopes for a shift in collective behaviors around consumption-oriented habits towards forming a sustainable future. The project was a collaboration between the University of British Columbia and Emily Carr University. The living clothes were shortlisted for the 2019 Design Awards in the Sustainable Design category. And that covers our program for today. Do you have a topic you are interested in and think our show should cover it? Let us know through our email. You never know, we just might make a program about your suggestion. Also, in case you missed it, you can watch bits and pieces of Bazaar on our Instagram page. Take care, everyone. I have been Samson Sees. Sees you in the next Bazaar.